Okay, we are. Well, everyone, a warm welcome. Please go ahead and share this stream with all your friends, families, or maybe anyone who just wants to know a little more about crypto, Web3, or RWA. Back in the day, we all we were going out and speaking on top of our lungs that RWA is actually going to change crypto. RWA is actually going to change uh, the world around us in terms of the way they perceive crypto and blockchain. To a certain extent, it even did. It got in massive institutional players that we always looked at their buildings from the outside. Could be the BlackRocks or could be the guys from the Big Fours. But you know what? In 2025, it actually happened. They are now a part of this ecosystem, whether we like it or not. Whether crypto is become more institutionalized, or we miss the degen vibe. That is for a different debate. But right now we have Rodriguez with us from Brickken. Rodrigo, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. Bit tired from attending a finance event yesterday in Dublin. Was still there this morning and busy with meetings, but yes, enthusiastic about the state of the industry, which we're just mentioning now. Very relevant and was so for me at least yesterday. But yeah, ready to tackle the topics of today. And thank you very much for having me with you today, Vaibhav.
Thank you so much. But tell me, how boring are the traditional TradFi events?
Typically, very boring. I attended one this year in Luxembourg, and it was very serious. We got some important work done. It was exciting in the part that I had to do a live pitch on stage in front of a lot of serious people. And fortunately, I didn't trip or anything. It went all right, but I mean, it was that it was just work. There were some people traveling with us for a program we were doing that made it fun, nevertheless, and the program was super interesting. But compared to the event I went to yesterday in Dublin, the banter was amazing, and I'd never done a proper pub quiz in my life. Being Mexican, we don't have pub quizzes over there, and here in Spain, I hadn't seen one either. But everyone from the finance event was at the pub quiz. The CEO of the company is called Fundrex, that was sponsoring the whole finance event in Trinity College. He was the actual quiz master and running the questions, and it was a riot. It was inside a pub. Everybody joined, and we filled it up. It was the whole place was pretty large, and to me, it was a very refreshing twist on what finance events can be, and very different setting than the experience I'd had before.
You did mention to me backstage that you don't do crypto events. Good you don't do it, because if you go back, if you go to a crypto event, you are never going back to another TradFi event or a regular fintech event. And maybe the guy who sponsored the event just sponsored because he wanted to be the quiz master. He wanted to just relive his college days, and what amazing way to do it. Then just sponsor the event, get people from across the world in their same space. Kind of exactly what we are doing here, getting people every day at 8 p.m. amazing people from all over the world talking about crypto, RWA, VC funds, creators, so on and so forth. But then let me first begin with you and let me find out from you, what does Brickken actually do? Because I know a bit since I know your co-founder Edwin, but I would love to know from you, what do you guys really do? Like, I see that you guys have 500 million AUM. Like, tell me, what are you guys up to?
We're a platform for the issuance and management of digital assets. We have a platform that helps anybody mint, do the issuance, sell them, and then do the asset management cycle on blockchain, right? With a very simple setup. We don't complicate ourselves too much. We're able to work with markets across the world through our partners, hence the not complicate ourselves too much. We handle the digital part of the business specifically, and for structuring, we have partnerships across the world. Depending on the jurisdiction and market that is being targeted, we direct our clients to these solid providers in the space, and also for getting them attention of investment audiences at times where profiles match between the project and the appetite of our partners. We sometimes are able to provide a match as well. We serve any industry. That's a little bit maybe why Brickken can be hard to classify. We don't specialize in anything in particular, but providing tech to business as a whole.
Okay. Can you break down this for me? Right now, this iPhone, consider it's about $1,000, right? I 10 of our friends get together, put in $100, and we want to maybe rent it out or maybe sell it, or let's talk about leasing it out right now, and then we'll talk about selling it. I want to lease it to maybe you, right? How does the structuring work? Can you just break down this for all our audience? Because we have heard so much about RWA. We know that is the next big thing, or already the next big thing. We were talking about it last year. Can you break it down for us? How does it really work?
Well, how it works can be done in many ways, but let's stick to the example of your phone there. So the phone will be a performing asset that produces yield. So we need the two vehicles, two documents to be able to get your offer up and running as for selling the tokens for the phone, right? So we need first the company that will be the registered responsible entity for the project, and then we need the agreement between the responsible company and the investors in the project. Those are the only two documents I need from you. We set up a website. Your investors can go through that website to perform their KYC. They do the KYC. You allow them into the project, and they can start buying. They can buy 50% of the shares, 10%, 20%, and they'll become token holders. Let's say that the equity that you're selling for the 100% of the participation is equal to 1,000 tokens. So I can go in, I can buy 100, and then when it's time to split up the profits, I'll be receiving 10% of the profits through a smart contract payment. So whatever money was generated by the phone, let's say $100. So the $100, you send them to the smart contract from your wallet as the admin, and all the token holders receive a piece of that dividend, depending on how much they bought. And in a very quick nutshell, extremely quick, that's how the whole process works out.
Lovely. And we just have had our next panelist join. Faraj, could you turn your camera on so I can pull you up? Okay, there we are. How are you doing, Faraj?
Yeah, everything is great. Thank you very much, guys. Sorry for being a little bit late, but I think
Okay,
we
so
had a good.
we were just breaking down, how can I tokenize my iPhone? But let's go to you. We spoke about, how RWA is the next big thing, and how, the market is now right now about, $30 billion already. Uh, what I want to ask from you is, what does Stellar do, and what is Stellar up to? Make it quick, make it short, so we can have multiple questions.
Absolutely. So Stellar is one of the oldest payments-focused chain. It is payments. It is focused on payments, cross-border remittances, and RWA. So it's operational since 2015. It's number 4 by RWA XYZ, and it's more than 2 billion tokenized with Stellar, and primarily it is money market funds from Franklin Templeton, for example, which is 1.7 trillion asset manager. We started to work with them in 2018, and by 2021, it was first money market fund that was tokenized, was from Stellar, called Benji token. It allowed for basically for access through Benji to money market fund in US for less than $20. So now we have European T-bills tokenized from Spyco. There is a lot of different financial instruments that are being tokenized, like real estate as well. Yeah, I think we are pushing geographically as well. So every region has its regional manager. So I'm heading the Middle East, and I'm in discussion with multiple companies here to tokenize bank deposits, tokenize real estate, tokenize private credit. So I think RWA race started, and all the big names like Ethereum, BNB Chain, Solana, Ripple, Polygon, and Avalanche are all after the next wave of tokenization. And according to BlackRock, this market will go to 20, 30, 40 trillion in just few years, yeah, by 2030. So, and whatever numbers we're having now, tokenization wise, it's just like Ethereum has 15 billion. We have more than 2 billion. So it's like super low. And if big names, and we work with State Street, we work with Societe Generale, large banking institutions. We have partnership with MoneyGram, with distribution across 500,000 locations in 200 countries. So it's an interesting times that we live in, but definitely institutional focus.
Great. So, thank you for introducing yourself. Tell us that, Stellar is already working with major institutions like you just mentioned, which is amazing, right? What does, how does it help you to bring them on chain? Because, as you said, Stellar was built to be fast, cheap, cross-border payments and asset issuance. Why do you think Stellar is winning big in the space of tokenized treasuries and bonds right now?
As first of all, it's compliance forward chain. It was designed with payments and everyday financial services in mind. Even the mission of the foundation is to provide equitable access to everyday financial services via blockchain. And for us, we have compliance native protocol features such as asset clawbacks, transaction freezing, and like pausing of the transactions as well, the freezing of the assets, all that inbuilt in the protocol. So when large asset issuers like Franklin Templeton came in and tried to see which chain would be the best suited for, Stellar was standing out on that. And like we also work closely with DTCC and a number of other like large institutional players, and some of them, they like Franklin Templeton, they designed some of those compliance features with us. We also are working very closely on privacy features as well, because we know that large institutions, they want their transactions to be private, so they do not lose a competitive edge. And the transaction should be cheap and
Also give
deterministic.
me an opportunity to ask you another question, because then you will answer everything in one go. Then I won't have another question for you.
Absolutely. But to be honest, like our transactions is like 50 to 200 times cheaper than Solana. So when you do hundreds and millions of transactions, the cost of the transaction is important. One of the most important is that this transaction cannot be like reverted. So it's like deterministic settlement is very important as well.
Hey, Rodrigo, would you want to take him up on that and tell him how cool Brickken is?
Well, we definitely know a seller. I'm not sure, Faraj, if we've met personally in events before, but people from your team, yes,
Raj, we
especially
can't see you. So, okay, thank you. You're back. Okay, sorry. Go
in
ahead.
Cannes recently. Someone from your team, absolutely. And well, we tokenize anything, but yes, out of what you were saying right now, private credit, private equity, some bonds, definitely having institutional come into the fore gave the space a lot of legitimacy, and that obviously helped catalyze a lot of the participation. And I mean, with technology, having these players involved, like Franklin Templeton, gives confidence to other businesses, and you actually do see a trickle down effect that is real here when those things happen, and it motivates the space and other industries where we see industries like entertainment, IP, royalty, for instance, royalties come into play. We see commodities, fish farming operations, even, and also more tangible as for large projects like infrastructure projects for industry that are being distributed and participated into on chain, where this gives a lot of day-to-day relevance, where industries like fish farming that have to do with something as basic and elemental as food sourcing for the planet. And we have a client doing an airport facility precisely that will reduce for Scandinavian fish markets their supply chains to the Middle East by 30 hours. This is enormous for delivering freshly caught seafood. So these examples and clients we've had from mining industry, but of course there's a lot of gold tokens out there and gold projects, but this was salt mining, where it was a private equity sale of a public company, yes, but not selling stock, selling economic rights of a single mine to Asian investors. So to us, it's very exciting seeing projects that really involve human day-to-day interactions that are super relevant and that not affect everyone, but they're in the social fabric of day-to-day lives and markets being tokenized. So the momentum is unstoppable as we see it. This year, projects like the one I just mentioned with the air freight facility definitely confirm it, and others that we have of smaller scale, but also relevance in the day-to-day aspect of us going into these movements that show that the significance is growing, the numbers are growing. There was, for instance, between 2024 and 2025, there was only a 5 billion increment in tokenized assets. And from start of 25 to end of 26, that was over 20 million. So the graph is showing a very steep increment, and this is irrefutable evidence of a trend that is taking us to those final numbers that Faraj was mentioning that are in the trillions for not too far along.
Okay, guys. So now tell me this: that we see billions of dollars coming in. Everything that Faraj spoke was all in B billions, right? It did start to get, it did start to hurt my ear a bit because I've never heard so many billions in one sentence, just back to back. But I need to know that billions are coming in, but what about the dollars, right? What about $10? What about $20? By which I mean, where is the retail, right? The institutions are here. The big boys, the big boys are already here in the play. Where is the retail? Where are the guys who would actually end up being somebody's exit liquidity? Jokes apart, but then where are the guys who would actually go ahead and drive this to the numbers that you guys have been talking about?
Yeah,
Faraj will
if
start.
I can take it first. First of all, there are a few things that where retail could be, and first of all, retail can have access to and big access to stock market, to bonds market, and commercial real estate, to the basically investment products that previously were unavailable. If you have been to developing nation, you would know how hard sometimes it is not only to take like a banking license, but to become an accredited investor and start investing in different places. So for like many banks in developing nations, they do not have brokerage accounts to invest in S&P 500. Now with Ondo Finance, we plan to bring them on Stellar as well, and plan to bring like different stocks on Stellar. But someone with an app in Bolivia, they can a wallet connected to Stellar network. They can have actual tokenized shares or
No,
tokenized
no.
stocks
I'm
investments.
I'm 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 sorry to cut you here, but I'm asking you, where are the real investors or the retail investors? We are seeing the institution side. When will the retail investors actually come in? Because we correct me if I'm wrong. We haven't seen the real flow of retail investors, right? Have we?
Well, we have some projects that get retail investors involved. I guess it's one of the you could say maybe advantages of how Brickken does small business, medium business, institutional business as clients. We see private equity transactions in smaller numbers, not in the billions, and these are retail investors coming in, and these are projects that are more on a local
But
level. We
but my question is, are there enough to drive the mainstream adoption yet?
it needs to grow still. The participation is there, but we see it coming along with the client, where the client comes and he tells us, hey, I have already a database of people and we're pitching to them, so this is my list of clients, and my top clients are interested in investing. These are the kinds of retail investors that we see come aboard, but there still needs to grow, and it is trickling down where it's common to have a wallet and go invest in projects. It is a surfacing trend, however, and this year it's gotten better.
You know,
With regards to retail investments in different crypto projects or etc., it's I think you never know. I mean, like retail was so many times hurt by the recent, launches of different tokens and then drops in prices. So like in my opinion, whether we will see altcoin season 2 or 3, I don't know, but the fact is that more institutions are coming into the space, and we're starting to talk about different traditional finance merging with digital rails thing. So if someone wants to stay relevant, it will be less about meme coins and less about what's going to be the next technological token, but rather how we can tokenize something and improve like T+1, T+2, T+3 settlement times to become instant settlement, or to unlock capital that before was idle, and now we can put it in yield in DeFi. How to create the new solutions that would be improving the whatever traditional finance is currently having, and generating yield for the people. So I believe that it's going to be like a little bit different than the times before.
but but guys, the retail audience, or the crypto bros, like we call them. I'm guilty of being part of that community, because this is how we are started in this space. Now, when we talk about the returns in or the yields in RWA, it's about only 3 to 5%, but that's nowhere close to the yields that we see in the DeFi level. Do you think RWAs are going to make feel crypto boring and very regulated, and also very tiny in returns?
I don't believe so. I differ entirely. And the yields that we see in projects at Brickken a lot of times surpass 10%. And through that, we are seeing that now. There's I really like how you put it, Faraj. Altcoin season 2 or 3. With altcoin season right now being at a dip, we are seeing more interest in RWAs because I think the standard crypto bro, let's just stick with that, Vaibhav, is now matured where it understands that projects that skyrocket. I mean, you have avid traders that spend their waking hours looking at the numbers and doing micro gains through autopilots that just gain 0.5%, 0.5%, 0.5%, and there's money there for sure, right? But people no longer expect to invest in a project and go 5x, go 10x in 3 months. We've learned that those numbers are not sustainable. We learned that those projects are typically not real, and there's an imminent collapse around the corner, and you don't know where that corner is going to happen. And RWA gives people a sustainable shot at yields that are over inflation when inflation is super high, and play a very significant role in giving more visibility, meaning these companies are smaller when you're talking about RWA in some extent. Others are huge operations. But in many extent, you're seeing businesses that are easy to understand. We're not dealing with a huge corporation necessarily that is not transparent in what their strategy is for the next 2 years. We're dealing with succinct projects that offer clear objectives, that offer clear execution paths, and that can even involve local communities. If I live, let's say, in Canada, and I know that snowboarding, the snow industry is huge over there, and I live close to one of these places, I can contribute investing in something that locally impacts me, and that I am out of this market because I don't own units that rent for these people, but I can sure as hell invest in a boutique hotel that is opening up in my town or the town or 2 towns over. So to me, that is a very exciting angle where we're not talking about heavy regulation. We're talking about people having the opportunity of participating in markets that they had no shot at. And it takes no genius to see that a boutique hotel in a fancy snow destination is going to make some money. But I, as a common employee of a company that works 40, 55 hour weeks, I'm not going to get there in the next 2-3 years. I mean, normally, maybe I will. That would be fantastic. But in those situations, you're giving industries that are very productive the chance of financing themselves also outside of traditional finance. And I believe this has a great chance. This is what initially motivated me to join the whole tokenization industry, leveling the playing field, not a little bit, but a lot. When people put money together in these ways, they can find, I'm not saying they're going to topple institutional finance. I'm not going there. I'm just going where they have a chance to make some money too. And they have a chance to act in profitable markets that
I agree.
really bring the people up.
Yeah, I agree that
So you're saying that we
double-digit
would see a
returns.
GameStop moment in our WA.
I don't see that being the angle, but hey, I love the GameStop movement when it happened.
True, true. Sorry, Faraj, go ahead.
No, I mean that the double-digit returns for sure will stay, and you can see double-digit returns in traditional
Faraj,
finance as well.
Faraj, let me put some more pressure on you. You are a crypto bro. Okay. Now you are in the tokenization of assets that were never in access of common people. right? The yields are about 3 to 5%. In DeFi, we are used to double-digit returns, as you said. So now the pressure is on you because Rodrigo was, he's not in the crypto space. So we will come back to you and question you offline. So
I mean,
careful and
Ahmed, I'm
tell us.
I agree. There will be like different yield for different people, right? I mean, so if you're talking about like billions that sit on USDT idle, not earning any yield, perhaps 3 to 5% in money market fund for them, it's good amount. It's good money, good returns. If you're speaking, and this is relatively risk free, so you the Franklin Templeton, it's money market fund. It's like the Franklin Templeton is like more than 50 years old organization. They manage 1.7 trillion asset manager under management. BlackRock is having their own money market fund, so that's a different clientele. For in Stellar with tokenized, for example, corporate bonds as well. So there is a deal ongoing with corporate bonds from Georgia. They have 10 to 12%, right? And this is and this is like a solid company. They had an issuance of several $100 million. They make a second issuance on in the tokenized form. So if you want 12%, you go and do it there. I mean, like what I think that this fake yield that was coming from in terms of tokens issued by the platform that has no substantial like place before. I think that model is dead. I mean, you can't just say, oh, this is a 50% yield, but it's paid in my token. And what stands behind it? Oh, because I will be the next Uniswap. No, I think it's different road now. So everyone is actually is asking where the yield is coming from, and if it's coming from the proper business and you have a proper way to extract value and have a proper business behind it, yeah, for sure, you can tokenize and you can find your investor.
Great.
Sorry,
Very,
guys, I
very
have to go without camera for the rest of the show.
okay. We can't do that because it's like people are watching you. Okay, fine. Let's talk about the BlackRock's build fund. They alone are sitting over like 2.3 billion dollars parked right now in tokenized US treasuries. Um, when do you think we would actually see um, a lot more numbers with the retail in a way? I mean, is that, or rather, let me rephrase my question. Rodrigo, please don't turn off your camera.
oh, sorry, something. I think I hit back here by accident.
Okay.
Uh, there we go. I think I'm back.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah. So I was saying that the objective of BlackRock's build fund, they went a bit degen here with the spelling. But then when will it take for the retail audience to actually wake up and be a part of uh, that movement? And when do you think the retail audience will actually pay attention? I'm talking to you in terms of the numbers, because all this conversation that we have had, and even our topic of this conversation is about institutional onboarding. Now it looks like the institutions have been onboarding themselves quite largely. Specifically, my question is, what do you think is stopping the retail audience? Is it the yield? Is it uh, the knowledge? Is it the fear? What do you think is stopping the retail audience?
I think we're looking at several things. You have, for instance, that the projects like the bonds that Faraj a moment ago was referencing, they're not of the common knowledge and they're not as easy to understand. So the complexity of the vehicles, on the one hand, being more for people that understand finance more, and the finance people don't invest in the smaller ones, right? So the crypto pros that are in all the exchanges, people that just go buy Bitcoin, that buy any coin, or they buy Ethereum tokens or whatever they're buying, you have the regulatory space, right? In an exchange, anything can be bought, but these are all coins. The moment you attach a tangible asset, you need a whole regulation package, and you cannot have this in an open exchange because it contravenes all securities commissions in the world. So you have the regulation on the one hand. In Europe, we do have a few companies that are able to distribute and do tokenizations across the European level. Regulations have come down a little bit to make a private company or a private credit offer require much less of a bureaucratic package for them to be quote unquote listed. So we are definitely having two things come together which are pretty big. One is that there's the dip in the altcoin markets, and you have these users in all these exchange platforms that are not moving their money, and their options are I pull it out to the bank and lose and have nothing else here. But I think we'll see a lot of users in these exchanges turn their heads to these other projects that begin to get listed. When you have coins in exchanges, they're in an incredibly open space that is open worldwide. When you have a project, even if the yield is 15 or 20%, it's localized. So there's huge pressure on marketing this project. And when I say pressure, I mean budget. And then there's also the fact that these companies that are behind these projects, they don't have the capacity, nor the regulation has the physical capacity to reach international markets. So that's a huge difference. When I have a coin that's on an exchange, it can be on Uniswap, it can be on crypto.com, it can be on Binance.com, it can be everywhere. PancakeSwap, you name it, right? And there's nothing from stopping it being everywhere. When you have a localized project, doesn't matter if it's doing 15, 8, 20%, it's a tangible asset. It will not be there. And there are certain things that are breaking through that are new and that they will change the market. And one of these stems out of a regulation known as the Swiss DLT, where you'll be able to not bypass, but have advantages through whitelisting that will not be necessary for every swap, where I can go and going back to the phone example for simplicity's sake, you will need a whitelisting approval. Whitelisting means that the company that is issuing the project says, hey, Rodrigo can come in and buy this asset, him personally, through my wallet access acknowledgement. For me right now to sell that to my friend has to get whitelisted either. This is the hurdle that doesn't happen with Bitcoin. I can just throw the Bitcoin right back into the system and anybody else can buy it. When we're talking about an RWA at the precise moment of now, there's all these whitelisting hurdles that would have to happen. With how regulation is transforming, this is not only reducing in the bureaucratic package that is needed, but it's also reducing in the hurdles that will be necessary for a transfer to transfer, for a peer-to-peer transfer on an RWA. And this is something that markets have a bit of trouble chewing and digesting, which is the differences, which are huge, in how a tokenized RWA is transferred versus how a security is transferred versus how a coin is transferred. Because you have tokenized assets that are private assets that are privately transferred. And we have a lot of examples of clients like that in Brickken. But this is not something I can put up on an exchange, never. So the transferability is limited. So adoption will definitely grow when you have these conditions played together. Less bureaucracy, less hurdles between transfers, and then the altcoin season dip that pushes these markets into innovating, into investing in newer vehicles. So I guess if I hope I made myself understood. There's a lot of moving parts there, but yeah, that's how my personal take on it.
Faraj, if you can just turn your camera for a bit, I want to ask you a question on the Middle East regulatory scene, because we are in the UAE. We know what is the approximate framework here. But the framework that we I would like to know the framework in Saudi. Uh, are there more welcoming compared to Europe and US? Faraj? Okay, Faraj is not here. Okay. So when Faraj comes back, we'll try and ask him that same question. But then let me ask you, since you spoke about exchanges, now I've had great opportunities, multiple opportunities in the past to have a conversation with this gentleman called David Chum. Now, for the people who don't know who David Chum is, he is known as the godfather of cryptography. He's rumored to have taught guys like who actually created Bitcoin. The cypherpunk movement was inspired by him, and he's also the first guy to electronically transfer cash online. Like a digital transfer. So an absolute legend. If you think your social media influencer or that company's founder is an OG, he is an OG of OGs because he kind of started this entire thing, right? Now, he once told me that he's working on a project where people would actually pay you in tokens of their house. Like if I have to pay you $100 and I own this asset of an apartment in downtown Dubai worth maybe $1,000, but if I'm not using fiat, I can send you that. Do you see that happening? Do you see that people would actually start transacting in that fashion?
I do see it as an iteration that follows what is happening right now. I think we'll see participation in yields become a more natural purchase for everyday investors on the retail adoption side. And then as a second iteration to that, I don't see why we couldn't see settlements that are done in exchange of yield sources, where I want to spend a few nights in a lodge and I can pay the owner with the yield from a token I already have. And this it's a whole other dimension of economy that within thick layers of innovation and technology actually takes us back to bartering in a way. And that's a pretty cool button you just pressed, Vaibhav, I think.
Yeah, because when we heard this, it actually kind of blew my mind, and I was thinking, will this really happen? And will this really take off? But now, after listening to you and Faraj, I clearly see that happening because if I have to pay, like, since I'm from India, if I have to pay for my daughter's wedding, I go and I sell my stocks, right? I go and sell my shares. So why do I need to go through the effort of selling the shares, going to the market? Okay, traditionally there is T+2 and stuff like that, but then if I need to pay you for arranging the catering, I would just pay you in stocks of the house, or tokens of the house. I think that is now quite possible, and I think people will be open up for it because back in the day, the adoption of Bitcoin also happened in the same way. I know people who actually accumulated 5,000 odd Bitcoins because they started accepting Bitcoin as a payment form. Now, in a few days, you, me, and everybody else will be celebrating because somebody paid $10,000, sorry, 10,000 bitcoins for two pizzas, the pizza day on the 22nd May. So these things are clearly possible of happening, and these things will happen for sure. I think it's just a matter of time the way RWA is moving right now. But then, since you spoke about tokens and exchanges, we usually do this at the end, but we are on the 43rd minute mark. What are some tokens, not financial advice, but some tokens that you think the retail investors should be paying attention to?
I think local projects where the business impact is very, very relevant and very obvious are great opportunities, and also in markets where profits are also very obvious. And there you can see opportunities where benefiting from these ecosystems, right? This is a matter of access, where tokenization really is bringing in something new, is access to markets, where you're removing the chokehold of traditional finance as of now for projects to get off the ground through banks and private equity and venture capital. And you're giving a chance, like I was saying before, to anybody that has a bit of a radar, a bit of an antenna pointed in this direction, to go into these opportunities and grow with these markets. So you said it very well. This is not financial advice, but if you understand a market and you understand a product and you see an opportunity, it's tokenized and it is well structured legally, the yield is good, and you're convinced, I think it's a better idea than going out there and buying public stocks in Tesla, for instance. I think the tangibility of the opportunity is more stable, is more certain, and it has an upside that you understand, and you can be a part of something that is not abstract to you or alien, and the dividend will be there. I mean, if you're lucky enough to have this first project give you a stable yield, and it's an equity project, and it's for a small, maybe for a small hotel, and they will either operate very well for 10 years before renovations are needed and there's more investment needed, and you'll have 10 years of income, or a bigger company will come and buy them out and you'll make some money also. And if you grow versatile and distribute this among maybe different industries, I get excited when I think of the possibility of everyday people having access to a second income or savings this way, because I understand that saving has become very impossible in most, if not every country out there with the economic pressures we live through.
Okay. Can I request you to kindly move a little to your right side, because I've already lost one guest. I don't want to lose the other half of you. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry,
Great.
my chair hits the desk, makes me go the other way. But is this better?
A little more onto your left. So can you see two screens on your panel? Yeah.
Yes.
How many?
This,
Yeah, this is perfect.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. 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 Faraj, are you there? Okay. Faraj is. Wait. Faraj, are you there, my friend? Faraj, where are you? Okay, so let's now talk about if there's a fund who's listening to us, or there's a fund that you guys approach and they want to tokenize their fund. Can you run us step by step in terms of how that needs to be done?
Well, step by step, I may be letting the cat out of the bag, but I can definitely give you a bit of an overview of how things can happen. You have traditional funds being tokenized in a way that's called a mirror or a tracking token, because you see, with the funds industry, it's very traditional, and there are many controls that have to be done in certain ways, where you have an industry that is very fixed as to its checks, balances, and verifications, right? And you have ATS is somewhere, you have financial authorities that run funds. So you will have the fund performed, and this is just one method. You'll have the fund performed traditionally, as it always has been, with all those participants involved. And then tokenization will come in as a tracking token, where the yields produced by this fund are tokenized. You're not performing the fund necessarily through blockchain, but you have a yield token that mirrors the performance of the fund in a tradable token that can travel on chain, gives access, and gives also tradability. That's one version of it. Then there's kind of a middle of the way version of it where you have some softwares that let you operate funds on chain, where you can actually have the fund opening, closing, the what's it called, the transfer agent being on chain. That is going to take a little bit more time because it means moving elephants. And moving elephants, if they're not excited about moving and they're comfortable eating where they're eating, you're not going to move them too fast. So will that happen? Yes. Is it going to be immediate? No. And will they start outsourcing a few pieces of their operation on chain? We see that as a near future possibility. Yes, because of efficiencies in settlement and tradability. So that will happen. And then you also have this new animal called vaults, where we're already getting involved, where we're seeing a lot of projects that have excellent yield, that have been performing. And a vault is basically an on-chain iteration that achieves the inputs and outputs of a fund without constraint by traditional funds and institutional finance. So by being on chain and respecting the rule of law, absolutely, of course, you don't necessarily have to go through all the traditional institutional nodes that happen in a fund. So those are three different things. You have the vaults, which is having on-chain operations that resemble the behavior and outputs of a fund structure. And this just happens on stablecoin. There's no traditional side to a fund, to a vault. It's just the replication of the behavior, but strictly on chain. And then you have the tracking, which was the first thing I talked about, which is just the yield of the fund being transferable on chain. And then you have the tools that funds will be using for settlements, which is kind of middle of the way.
Got it. Okay, Faraj is driving and he just joined us again. Faraj, it's okay if you want to come back. Like we can do it another day. And we cannot hear you. I thought the 5G is pretty good here. Hello. Okay, we lost him. Did we get him? Okay. My last question. I've got two more. I think time for two more questions. We see the funds. We see different kind of things getting tokenized, right? We see real estate getting tokenized. We see art getting tokenized, so on and so forth. Where are you seeing some serious demand? Where people are more interested in?
Real estate is my obvious answer. There's demand from renewable energy sector.
Are you biased because you come from the real estate industry?
I am biased because I come from the real estate industry originally, but also the amount of calls that the team sees at Brickken fall very often on the real estate and development side of business. So through that, and I mean, also real estate is the world's largest asset class. It's no mystery that real estate would be the highest representation of iterations of tokenization, not the highest representation of financial volume necessarily, but the quantity of projects that come in through the door is higher on the real estate side. And it's the asset that most people are comfortable or most comfortable investing in.
Okay, and what do you think we can tokenize? Because I'll tell you, back in the day when we were hearing about RWA tokenization, we heard of watches getting tokenized. We heard of some really interesting stuff getting tokenized, and things like that. What is the most bizarre thing that you have heard of being tokenized? Has someone tokenized their life yet? Like, I don't know, but that's possible, right?
I mean, you can tokenize anything that has a business contract behind it. So that really opens the door to a lot of things. We've had some odd projects here and there. We have one in Argentina that tokenizes the price index of beef, and people can invest in yields of that index, which is a national index in Argentina, which is also a concept that can blow people's minds, where you have a regulated kind of stock market that trades in the price of beef. And we have a client that has tokenized that. That's one of the weirder ones. Let me see if I can think of another one. We had a theater show from the U.S. That was I forgot what they call it, but it's a show that was showing in New York off Broadway. So not on Broadway, not in a theater on Broadway Avenue, but this was the first time that this script was being put on stage. So the business people that tokenized this tokenized basically the eternal royalties of the script. So you know how you have shows in Broadway that have been running since we have use of memory, where you have things like Cats, for instance, that or Wicked, that have been running for, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe 50 years, give or take, right?
Yeah.
If you have this show and that is tokenized, and you buy into that script, and this show becomes a staple on Broadway, you're set for life. I mean, this thing will continue producing dividend for generations to come. And that was a pretty cool one we got to work on. It was a Broadway show, an off-Broadway show that was based on a streetcar named Desire. Of the film itself being shot with Marlon Brando, and the play itself, the script revolves around I think that the drama around the filming of the Streetcar Named Desire with Marlon Brando. So one of the actors of the show played Marlon Brando on stage, and the show got great reviews. It was reviewed very positively by the New York Times, and they're going for a second season. So things like that. I mean, the Beef Index, the Marlon Brando, Streetcar Named Desire, Broadway show, and of course you have hotels here and there. But as for weird ones, yeah, we were surprised every week or every month with something new.
Okay, so I'm a bit confused here, with the script being tokenized. Fantastic idea, right? On papers for now for me. Uh, since the people who are watching the play are not paying in not paying in stables, they're paying in fiat, right? There are XYZ ops cost which can be inflated, deflated dependingly on how they're running their PNL, and out of that they have an X amount kept aside for the script. Unfortunately, script writers are paid the least generally, but then maybe 10% of the entire or let's say 5% of the entire earning is kept aside for the guys who have invested. So will they actually go to an exchange, convert fiat into stables, and then put it on the smart contract and everybody gets paid? How will that work?
Yeah, as you said. Now this was done in the States. It was done through Reg A, Reg D, Reg CF, Reg S, I believe. It was a unified document that had all three. Reg D, Reg S, and CF. And this was offered to, I mean, these guys were not new in the industry, and they produced shows, for many, many years. So basically, they created this vehicle that allowed them to pitch the show to everyone, and the structure of the deal was pretty much the same as the structure that they've been working with for years back. It was just expressed on chain. And as for the distribution of the dividend, works just like you said. You make all the money, and whatever is for the token holders gets on ramped in stablecoin and shot through the smart contract.
But then there are a lot of loopholes here, right? For spillage. Uh, how can someone work around that? Like, will they have an audit firm looking into it, or how will that happen?
I mean, and this is something I have to tell clients all the time. Like, what are my safeguards on chain? There's no blockchain police, right? There's no international organism that reviews all this. What answers for the business is the document that is the engaging underlying vehicle. There's a contract, and that contract is, can someone violate the contract? Absolutely. So now you need to sue them. So, like I said, there's no blockchain police. You sue them through the legislation that is covered in that document.
But how are they going to find out that the balance sheet that they're showing is not inflated?
The same way that they would if this would not be done on chain. I mean, and end of the day, you're talking about the same business, right? Just because the dividend is paid on chain doesn't mean that there's no checks and balances. But if the business is being run by corrupt people, then they will cheat, and they can cheat off chain and they can cheat on chain. It doesn't really change the nature of the business people you're dealing with.
And how many people actually bought the tokens of this script, if it is not
I
in
in the
any way?
hundreds.
Hundreds. Okay. And these were their own people, or did they actually reach out to other people to invest in their tokens? Like, how did that work? I'm just trying to understand that since
I don't. I understand the question definitely, but I don't get that much into the operation of the
right.
project.
Fair.
I do know they did some marketing. I do know they did some marketing, but in essence, they were going for, people they've done business with in the past, and offering this vehicle to them, and also to theater communities.
Got it. We have gone past our time a bit, but I would love to ask you a couple of more questions. If there's nothing on your schedule for a few more minutes, I would love to dig deep on. Do you have like a few more minutes?
I could give you another 5 for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. People are talking about tokenizing watches. Tomorrow is the drop of Swatch and AP called the Royal Pop. Uh, Prices are about $400, but it is estimated to go much higher in the gray market for the hype that is created around it. Now, if someone has to uh, go ahead and tokenize that, where will they keep that watch? And maybe 100 people want to tokenize this, and in the gray market, assuming that the price will go much higher than maybe $1,000 what they have bought it, where will they keep the watch? Which vault will be responsible? And how will that mechanism work?
When we're talking about assets like this, okay, we're talking about proof of reserve vaults that have on-chain capacity. So there are several providers in the space, and through proof of reserve of a vaulted item, the permanence of the object in the vault is something that can be traced on chain. And then when somebody comes in and buys it, and of course the item is certified before it goes into the vault, and the serial and then everything is very well taken care of. But vaults for valuables are a very old business, and those checks and balances are there. These companies simply create an on-chain expression of the certainty of the item being vaulted, and plus other things they do. But in essence, what this means is when the item is sold, it is devaulted, and everyone is notified, and then everyone can get paid. And if these watches, let's say someone goes out there and buys 100 of these watches, and they vault them, and then they'll be selling them one by one, maybe, or whatever rules and checks that they design. That's how that would work with proof of reserve vaults.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate all the knowledge that we have got from you. We would love to have you back on the show. and pick your brains on more interesting questions about RWA.
Oh, thank you, Vaibhavv. I'd love to be back, maybe sometime late in the year, so that we have some more new stuff to talk about. Maybe not too soon, or I would be a boring guest. But this was great. Thank you very much. The insights by Faraj were also very valuable, and thank you for having me. I love the dynamic, and we'll have a great weekend and afternoon and all that good stuff. And to everyone listening out there, thank you very much for putting up through this thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.